I had a full experience, and that experience was the hit Broadway musical Water for Elephants. Full disclosure, I am going to spoil the entire plot, the subplot, what I thought should have been the plot's cousin, and the person the plot owes money to. If you want to plan to see Water for Elephants on Broadway and do not want it to be spoiled, now is your chance to skip ahead. For the rest of you Water for Elephant plot-knowing peeps, let's ride. I went in completely unaware of what this show was going to be about. I heard there were circus acts, and that it was beautiful, but that was all I knew. It starts off with this sweet old man on stage. His name is Jacob Jankowski, and his life is boring. Hella boring. He's in his 90s, and only one of his 5 kids ever visits him, and not very often, actually. And then one day, the literal circus pulls up outside his place. And I know what you're thinking. I'm out. The circus pulls up, and this plot cannot be good. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to want to climb that metaphorical horse, because this story gets good. Jacob used to work for the circus. A lot of us, if our former employers pulled up outside our homes, would probably be like, hey, Kmart, I moved on. But not Jacob, because you see, Jacob, he used to work for the circus. Yeah, when he was a younger man, he worked for that circus. And he decides to tell the people who work for the circus now and who are conveniently parked outside his home, his circus tale. And they want to hear it because it turns out the circus he used to work for was the Benzini brothers' most spectacular show on earth. Ever heard of it? Now, if you're a character in this particular show, this is very important to you because this is a legendary circus. These young circus folks, they're bugging out. You would have thought we were watching Grease the musical with all these tell me mores, tell me mores. Now, the story begins. We flash back to a young Jacob Jankowski. Hot. He's giving John Mulaney, and my friend who I was with whispered to me, he's giving John Mulaney. And I said, I was thinking he's giving John Mulaney. I don't care about John Mulaney's personal life, you guys. He makes me laugh through the TV, and he's easy on the eyes. Spare me your John Mulaney pitchforks, please. The actor's name is Grant Gustin, and he's no longer in the show. I saw him his last week. Now, young Jacob has had some tough luck. He's lost his parents. He's dropped out of Cornell University right before he graduated. Well, what do you do if that happens? He decides to hop the train late at night. And this is during like the 20s or 30s, the speakeasy times. And this wasn't just any train. You guessed it. It was the Benzini Brothers circus train. Are there a bunch of rough and tough guys who work as stagehand types for the circus? Yeah. And they're about to kill Jacob. They want to throw him off the train and never look back. Either the old days were just that rough, or men out here are still that rough. Well, we know most women pick the bear, so you decide. This guy, Camel, who's the leader of the bad boys and the stagehands, is like, yo, guys, chill. My man's okay. He's saying he's gonna work one night for food. Yes, he's a pretty boy. Yes, he showed up on the back of this train looking Ivy League as fuck, but we all got a sad story, so the kid stays. Then we see the circus acts in action. And when I tell you, these motherfuckers were throwing each other in the air, standing on shoulders, back flipping and front flipping and looping and Scooby-Dooing on each other with absolutely no padding. I chose to be cool throughout watching that because what am I going to do? Start moaning and groaning that they may fall? No. I'm going to suspend my disbelief and give my belief to the magic of theater and watch the backflips. Let's fucking go. As Jacob takes in these stunts, much like the rest of the audience, the show transitions to a horse at the edge of the stage that ain't doing so hot. And the horse is with this beautiful human circus companion. She's a performer named Marlena. And like I said, this horse isn't doing well. It's being worked to the bone on its last leg, literally, because the ringmaster, August, will not let this horse rest. He won't even get him to a vet, despite Marlena asking over and over again. Now, if I were the horse, I'd be pissed. Because when Jacob walked in the room, the sexual tension hit an all-time high right off the bat, and it was the highest sexual tension the show had experienced thus far. I was even thinking, up to this point, where is the sexual energy? I want a little sexual energy. And then there was the sexual energy. And then the sexual energy is crushed because the ringmaster comes in. August. And he's mean. And he has an attitude, and he says the horse can't take any days off. Jacob tries to tell him, bruh, this horse ain't gonna make it. And August is like, what are you, a vet? And Jacob's like, actually, I didn't finish my last semester at Cornell, but if I had, I'd be a full-blown vet. Because I was literally in school to be a vet. This is wildly convenient for all parties involved. August, because he needs a road vet for all the circus animals. And Jacob, because he's left what little life he's had behind and hopped on the train in the 1920s without a job. And Marlena, because she knows the animals need a road vet. Marlena walks off with the horse, and Jacob and August make a deal for Jacob to come on the road with them. And then August let Jacob know, you ain't slick, baby. I see you looking at my wife. Gulp, a wife? She wasn't looking at me like she was anybody's wife, but go off, ringmaster. Which now has a double meaning. Bad news bears. I'm talking in animal lingo because this show is about animals. The next scene, we lose the horse. Marlena sings this beautiful song while holding a puppet horse head, Godfather style, in the middle of the stage, basically soothing the poor deer in the final moments of its life. And then the magic of Broadway, people, it takes over. An aerial dancer representing the horse did a whole aerial routine over the audience. First of all, show off. I'm joking. This was incredible. Oh my God. How can you even remember choreography when you're up there? They could have just been flailing about and everyone in the audience would have just been in awe. Except for that one douche in the audience who took an aerial class once at a bachelorette party who whispers to the person they're with, actually, his turn was sloppy. It was, in the history of horse beheadings, the most beautiful one I'd ever seen. But now that that horse is dead, they need another animal for the circus to take its place. Put a pin in that. August, the ringleader, married to Marlena, the circus performer. The two of them start getting thick as thieves with Jacob. They're popping bottles with him, celebrating birthdays. There was even once where August insisted that Marlena kiss Jacob's cheek on his birthday. I'm not gonna lie, it felt icky. Listen, anyone would kiss Jacob's cheek. However, the way he asked was giving bossy cuck. They pull into this new town and they see this elephant for sale. But the elephant isn't trained. She's kind of unruly, which is normal for an elephant not to be well behaved because humans shouldn't be owning them. And her health is not tip-top. But August buys her anyway, and he's like, I'm going to train this elephant for my circus if it's the last thing I do. If I don't, people won't come to the circus. If people don't come to the circus, we don't eat. Jacob says there isn't enough time to train her. We have to be patient with these things. August, of course, doesn't listen. Now tensions are high. Then, on New Year's Eve, the three of them are dressed to the nines, out at a speakeasy because you couldn't drink publicly back then. It wasn't legal. Shh. And at first, everything is well and good, and then August grips Marlena so tight, obviously showing that he may have a bit of a violent side. And Jacob tries to get involved, but she's like, hey, don't get involved. Then boom, the speakeasy gets raided. August, at that point, had gone off to get more champagne, and Jacob and Marlena make a run for it. Outside the raid, Jacob goes in for the kiss. Jacob. This isn't a Nancy Meyers movie, and timing is everything. You want the first kiss with her to be the night you almost have to intervene with her overbearing husband? Read the room, pal. Naturally, it's awkward, and she runs off. And we cut to more elephant training. This is where August's character really starts ramping up when it comes to his violent and mean streak. He's not hiding it so well. He and Rosie the elephant have words. Well, if elephants could have words. And then he hits Rosie the elephant, and she does not take that shit lying down. Marlena gets involved, and Jacob gets involved, and it turns out Jacob, who is in fact Polish, speaks Polish to Rosie the elephant. And Rosie the elephant understands Polish, and she starts listening to Jacob and obeying him. Maybe it was his gentle nature. Maybe it was his hot face, or maybe it was his Polish speak. But either way, Rosie likes Jacob. Rosie especially likes when Jacob speaks Polish to her. I had a boy speak Polish to me once too, Rosie, and I also liked it, so Nostrovia. Also, August is abusing Rosie the elephant, if that wasn't clear. That's so important to the plot. As the sexual tension builds between Jacob and Marlena, and Jacob and Rosie the elephant, and August becomes increasingly frustrated with Rosie because she won't listen to him. And he's frustrated with his marriage. And Jacob and Rosie are sharing this growing bond, making Rosie the elephant hate August even more. Then, the shit hits the circus tent. One day, Jacob says he's gonna leave the circus. That he has to stay behind and do other things with other animals. Probably because he knows he can't fully have Marlena unless she leaves August, and that ain't happening. August catches Jacob and Marlena having what he called a lover's quarrel. Well, because they are. And then Marlena smacks August, and then August smacks Marlena, and she goes down. And then Jacob goes to fight him, and the thrill is through the roof. Then at the circus show later that day, I'm just gonna say it, Rosie kills August in front of the audience. We didn't see it. It was puppets, you sicko. But we got it. Now, the good news is Marlena and Jacob get together. Duh. They have 5 kids. We don't meet them, sorry. And then flash forward, old Jacob gets asked to be the vet for the traveling circus that he's told this whole story to. He accepts this offer in a way that made this audience member weep. It was a real happy ending. Not for August. He did.
Duh.
Welcome to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. Party God Squad, hello! Did you have a good week? I sure hope so. My week, luckily enough, was jam-packed with love. Shout out to my family. Shout out to the gang. Not to be cliche. Not to sound like everyone else, but I'm gonna. Where did the summer go? Why did the summer leave? And when can the summer come back? Now, I know what LFO meant when they said summer girls come and summer girls go. Summer worthwhile and summer so-so. Rest in peace, Rich and Devin. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't be outside in the fall and the winter coming up. I'll say it. Don't listen to them. You must get your energy out there and be the hottest you can be in your fall fashion. And make memories as you spin around in this grand scheme of things, really tiny floating globe. I want to shout out a few of my comedy gals. Lock in with me, will ya? I don't know what's come over me lately, but I've been on a real ABBA kick. I never grew up listening to ABBA. I never threw them on any playlists as an adult. And frankly, the movie Mamma Mia didn't sit right with me. three men end up all wanting to be the father of this adult woman who's about to get married? What in the Brady Bunch alternate fucked up universe is that? Meryl, I love you, but I ain't buying it. So I walk into wherever I was walking into. Don't you worry about where I was walking in. And I overhear a friend talking about ABBA. Are you talking about ABBA? Because I have been on an absolute ABBA kick lately. I can't get enough. I just woke up one day and the next thing you know, I'm on the treadmill bumping Voulez-vous. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And she says, yeah, me and a couple of gals, both gals I know, both gals I'm friends with, are going to an ABBA dance party at the Bell House. The Bell House. Hearing the words the Bell House was like a long-lost lover doing a slow motion walk to whisk me off into the sunset and simultaneously pay all my bills. Time stood still. I love the Bell House. And since the pandemic, I haven't really been. Maybe once. COVID really put a damper on dancing indoors on account of all the death risks. I would spend my weekends in that neighborhood where Bell House is, and I would end my nights at 3 a.m. having danced to every great song there ever was. If you aren't getting it, I'm a huge fan of the Bell House. I missed her. And she says to me, yeah, you want to come? And yeah, buddy, I fucking want to come. And I did, and we danced, and we shot tequila, and we were given glow bracelets, and it was the absolute best. So like Leanne Womack says, if you ever get the chance to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. This week's Wild Night story was submitted by Olivia from Arizona. As I listened to the story, I thought to myself, damn, this is wild. This story takes place in 2018 when Olivia went over to Europe with a couple friends. Europe was no place new because Olivia had studied abroad in Europe 3 years prior. Old hat. When you study abroad, unless you're absolutely insufferable, you're likely to make some friends. And this is wonderful because then 3 years later, when you go back to Europe, you can then hang out with said friends and have a whole new batch of wild adventures. Please welcome into the chat, Simone. He's one of Olivia's best friends. They met during the studying abroad. He was their destination point. Olivia said this with all sincerity, no bullshit, that Simone is one of the most beautiful people ever, inside and out. I'm just gonna be real. The second I heard his name was Simone, a calmness fell over me. And I was like, yeah, Simone probably is okay. Undeniably, apparently, a gorgeous face with a soul to match. So Simone was in Zurich, and Olivia and the two friends that were traveling together, they were headed there to meet him. And our travelers are growing weary. They've been bopping around Europe, living that backpack life for almost 2, maybe 3 weeks now. And they were past their travel prime when it came to their energy bank. Tank was low, but that doesn't stop those who are meant to rock. And that doesn't stop those who are meant to roll. So they marched forth to meet Simone in Zurich. The dates they gave for Simone for their arrival worked pretty perfectly for his schedule. He had to do a little work on the weekdays, he said, but the weekend was going to be gorgeous. Because a gorgeous man like Simone cannot and will not be a kept woman. So the weekend was going to be theirs. They'd have ample time to party. But then Simone remembered, you might want to come on another weekend. When you come, that'll be the same weekend as this electronic musical festival that's happening. You, as a listener, are probably thinking, so what? Who cares? That actually sounds like fun. To you, I say, don't be so naive, you silly American. If you think Europeans do musical festivals like we do, you're wrong. They go all out. It's the biggest electronic musical festival in Europe. And this was a hard lesson for Olivia to learn. They're thinking like an American. This'll be fine. We'll navigate. Famous last words, I'm afraid. Simone warns the city is going to be packed. Olivia retorts, I've been in a busy city before, no big deal. Simone throws in the towel and says, okay, come on down. I don't know if he said come on down because I've never had to find Zurich on a map. But I assure you, I'm going to do some research. Our travelers go from Paris to Zurich on a bus, because it doesn't make sense to take a train, I guess. 6 to 10 hours they're on this bus ride. They're going to arrive in Zurich midday. They've got these huge backpacks. They're exhausted. They get dropped off in the middle of this random parking lot when all is said and done. Have you ever been dropped off in a random parking lot in the middle of Zurich? Me either. But the night is young. In fact, it's only the afternoon. First problem is Olivia does not have the location of where they need to go when they get to this random parking lot in the middle of Zurich. They also don't have service, so how are you going to get in touch with Simone, Olivia? So the next moment post-bus travel is arduous. It sucks. My phone died the other day, one subway stop from home, and I said, "Tell my mother I love her." So imagine what was going through their minds. They get a hold of Simone, finally. He wants them to meet him at the central train station under this giant red airplane that's hanging from the roof. Of course. Why wouldn't they be meeting there? The train station looks similar to Grand Central, apparently, which, a little off topic, but what do you call Grand Central? Do you call it Grand Central Station or Grand Central Terminal? The internet is saying anyone who calls it station, you may have jumped timelines. I don't know. Look into it. Back in Zurich, in this train station, it's packed, and everyone is dressed for the festival. They wait, and then Simone is barreling to them, sprinting through this crowd. Olivia's two friends have not met him yet, so Simone is making nothing less than an absolute entrance. And Simone is wasted. And Simone is happy to see them. He's also bleeding profusely from his leg because he tripped hard while running towards them. A precursor to the night. Simone lives about a half hour outside of the city. So instead of sleeping at his place, he's going to take the three of them to one of his friends' places who lives closer. The city is jam-packed for the festival, and they're all trying to navigate through the streets with these huge backpacks. And this crowd is wild. They're obviously sticking out with their backpacks. When they get to the apartment that they're staying at, it seems like Simone doesn't really know this person whose apartment it is. That's the vibe. But he's just like, put your stuff down, here's a banana, here's a beer. All they had to eat all day, by the way. And to me, that's hospitality. That's manners. Of course, Simone has hospitality and manners. They house the beers, they down the bananas, they change, and they're off. They're in central Zurich, and if you're picturing a music festival in a contained area, you'd be very wrong, my friend, because this festival was all over the city in the actual streets. Fun fact about Zurich is it's a city on a river and a lake. As they're making their way through the city, they're headed towards the lake, or the river. Simone's three friends are there, Klaus and two girls who Olivia doesn't remember their names. Mind you, one of Olivia's traveling buds has opted out of going out, so it's just Olivia, and we'll call her Layla. And after that bus ride, I can't blame Olivia's friends for opting out. Simone introduces everybody. Klaus, as you can imagine, starts flirting with Olivia and Layla. And these gals, they've only had a banana, and they've had no sleep, and their systems are running on fumes. And as interested as Klaus was in them, they were interested in Klaus. And he was hot. Hot and German. They're locked in. The other two girls don't really matter. They're not really talking anyway. Plus, there's a language barrier with the other two gals. They're not making an effort either. Let's be real. You'd be hyper-focused on Klaus too, baby. They go on the hunt for food through town. Klaus buys Olivia and Layla pizza. Here you go, hot American girls. And like any good hot American woman, they gobbled that up. All that German pizza, num 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 num. Here's a fun fact about the river in Zurich. It is so clean that people get in it with waterproof backpacks and they just float to work. There's bars all along the river. It's an absolute vibe. Olivia and Layla are so drunk at this point. They're finding out all this river info and they're like, we gotta get in. But they don't have bathing suits, just undies. Olivia's in a thong even. They jump in, there's rocks everywhere, and they're just having a blast. Then all of a sudden, this super angry guy comes out of nowhere and starts calling Olivia specifically a slut and yelling, "You shouldn't be in the river in a thong, slut." Really nasty stuff. But Simone, of course, to the rescue. He comes up behind when he sees this psycho yelling and he screams, "She's just trying to swim back, calm down." And Olivia's in the middle of the two of them. And then this crazy guy who's run over swings on Simone, but grazes Olivia's cheek and punches Simone in the eye. Punched by a man while wearing a thong in Zurich. Gasp. Olivia gets a black and blue, and the guy just casually walks away. The amount of lawsuit that would ensue if this happened in America, my God. But they all refuse to let even this damper the night. And that, my friends, is party God squad behavior. So where do they go? They go to the club. Now, everyone is pretty much speaking German, but Olivia and Layla, they're picking up about half of what everyone in their group is saying. You get body language. And Wasser, and Braut, and Auf Wiedersehen. And that's what they're hearing when they're on the way to this club. Then they get to the club and they don't know why, but they aren't getting in. And people on the line are getting annoyed that they can't get in behind them. And the two girls that they're with, that they have no rapport with, are also getting annoyed. But they're also getting mad. Really angry. It's bad. The two girls in the group are pissed at this point. So they all leave the club because they have to. And they start walking, and where do they end up? Well, under that goddamn red airplane in the train station, of course. And a fight breaks out amongst the 4 German members of the group. Simone, Klaus, and the 2 girls. Olivia and Layla have no idea why they're all fighting whatsoever. You would think the great Zurich River punch would bring them all closer together. 10 or 15 minutes of screaming and arguing in German under the red plane at the train station. It was terrible. It was a really angry situation. And finally, Simone walks over and says, "Okay, well, you two, we can't stay at their apartment tonight. We've got to go get your huge bags and make the last train 30 to 45 minutes back to my house." Of course, they're like, why? Why do we have to do that? Turns out one of the girls that they were with, are you ready for this? One of the girls that was there was Klaus's long-distance girlfriend who was there visiting him, and he has been ignoring her and paying all his attention to Olivia and Layla. They're shocked. Impossible. That cannot be his girlfriend. He's been acting wildly inappropriate in front of her towards us literally all night. There's no way. But as the saying goes, where there's a Klaus, there's a way. They even agreed that this girl should be pissed at Klaus. This was a crazy way for him to have behaved. Simone's like, okay, well, she ain't letting us stay. We gotta go. They leave the train station. They're about a 20-minute walk from the apartment, and they awkwardly walk back to this apartment. Now, Klaus, Mr. Audacity, walks up to Olivia and tries to laugh and flirt with her. Now, in hindsight, Olivia should have said the jig is up. But 6 years ago, Olivia kept the conflict at bay and laughed at his little Klausy jokes. The air's thick. We're trying to cut the tension, not make it thicker. The girl is insulting Olivia and Layla in German while they're grabbing their packs, calls Olivia a bitch. But what does it matter? Olivia's like, I get it. I'm a character in your story. Now Klaus is hanging his head low, and it's so late at night, and they're doing what feels like, after leaving them, the walk of shame. And after 3 years of not seeing Simone, this was the wild night they experienced with him. Back to the train station. Back to the red airplane. And I know it doesn't make sense for their story for them to in fact make their train, but they did make their train. And as legend would have it, Simone and Klaus are no longer friends. As for Klaus and his girlfriend, I have no idea. If you have your own wild night story that you'd love to have retold on the show, you can email me at wildnightswithrocky@gmail.com. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow me at Wild Nights with Rocky on TikTok and Instagram, at Wild Nights Pod on Twitter. Remember, if you're missing Rocky's Highest Thoughts, please subscribe to my Patreon for $5 a month. Also, it helps support the podcast you love so much. If you want to watch the show, you can subscribe to me on YouTube. A big thank you and a future thank you to everyone who's written and everyone who will write a review when this episode is over on Apple Podcasts. It really does make a difference. And until next time, stay wild.